There is a moment in every life, usually after 60, when the world grows quiet. The children are grown. The career has closed its final chapter. The alarm clock no longer commands your mornings. And in that silence, a question begins to whisper in the back of your mind. What now? Some people fear this silence. They fill it with distractions, with television, with regret, with the endless scrolling of a phone. They wait for something to happen, and slowly, quietly, without ever noticing, they begin to grow old, not in body, but in spirit. But there is another way, an older way, a wiser way. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius picked up a pen at the end of long, exhausting days and wrote these words to himself. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He was not writing for kings. He was writing for you, for anyone who has ever wondered how to live well when the world grows quiet. Today, we are going to explore 7 retirement hobbies inspired by Stoic philosophy. Hobbies that will keep your mind sharp, your body strong, your heart open, and your spirit young. Not because they distract you from aging, but because they teach you to age with purpose, with grace, and with wisdom. If you are entering retirement or already living it, this video may change the way you see the years ahead. Because in Stoicism, growing older is not decline, it is harvest. Stay with me until the end. The 7th hobby is the one most people overlook, and it is the one that changes everything. The first hobby is reading, but not the kind of reading you may be imagining. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers who ever lived, wrote to his friend Lucilius with a simple piece of advice. You should be extending your stay among writers whose genius is unquestionable, deriving constant nourishment from them. Notice the word he chose, nourishment. Seneca did not see reading as entertainment. He saw it as food for the soul, a meal you sit down to slowly, savoring every bite. In retirement, you finally have the one thing your working years denied you: time. Time to read deeply, time to read slowly, time to read books that stretch your mind rather than shrink it. Studies from institutions like Yale University have shown that people over 60 who read regularly live, on average, nearly 2 years longer than those who do not. Reading strengthens memory. It builds vocabulary. It slows cognitive decline. It has even been linked to lower rates of Alzheimer's disease. But the Stoic sees something deeper. Reading is a conversation with the greatest minds who have ever lived. When you open Marcus Aurelius, you sit across from an emperor. When you open Epictetus, you learn from a man born into slavery who became one of history's wisest teachers. When you open Seneca, you receive letters written for you, personally, across 2,000 years. Where else can you find teachers like these? So start small. Choose one book. Read 10 pages a day. Underline what moves you. Write in the margins. Return to passages that made you pause. Do not race to finish. Race to understand. And remember what Epictetus said. Don't just say you have read books. Show that through them you have learned to think better, to be a more discerning and reflective person. Reading does not just fill your mind. It shapes your soul. The second hobby is one so simple that most people dismiss it: walking. The ancient Stoics were great walkers. In fact, Greek philosophy itself was often taught while walking, teachers and students moving together through gardens and colonnades, ideas flowing as freely as their footsteps. There was a reason for this. The Stoics understood something modern science is only now rediscovering. The body and the mind are not separate. When one moves, the other awakens. Marcus Aurelius, even as Emperor of Rome, made time for long walks. He wrote that nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. But he found his way into that soul most easily when his feet were on the earth and the sky was above him. For those over 60, walking is perhaps the single most powerful thing you can do for your health. It strengthens the heart, it improves balance and prevents falls, it lowers blood pressure. It reduces the risk of dementia, depression, and diabetes. It costs nothing. It requires no gym membership, and it can be done almost anywhere. But the Stoic walk is more than exercise. It is a practice. Walk alone sometimes. Leave the phone behind. Notice the shape of the clouds. Feel the temperature of the air. Listen to the sound your feet make on the ground. Watch how the light changes as the sun moves through the sky. This is what the Stoics called prosoche, attention, full presence in the present moment. When you walk this way, something remarkable happens. Anxieties loosen their grip. Problems that felt enormous begin to shrink. Clarity arrives, not because you demanded it, but because you made room for it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." A walk is one of the easiest ways to obey that command. You cannot be in yesterday when your feet are moving forward. You cannot be trapped in tomorrow when the wind is on your face. Start with 15 minutes a day. Build to 30. Walk in the morning if you can. The Stoics loved the dawn. And notice, over weeks and months, how the man or woman who returns from the walk is not quite the same as the one who set out. The third hobby is gardening. And to understand why, we must understand something the Stoics knew about time. We live in an age of instant everything. Instant food, instant messages, instant answers. And in this rush, we have forgotten a truth that older generations knew in their bones. Some of the best things in life cannot be hurried. They must be grown. A garden teaches this lesson every single day. You plant a seed, you water it, you wait. Nothing seems to happen. You wait longer. And one morning, without announcement, a tiny green shoot appears. You did not force it. You could not have forced it. All you did was create the conditions, and nature did the rest. This is a deeply Stoic idea. Epictetus said some things are up to us and some things are not. The gardener learns this truth with their hands. You can choose the seed, you can prepare the soil, you can water and weed and protect. But you cannot command the rain. You cannot argue with the seasons. You cannot force a flower to bloom before its time. And so the gardener slowly, patiently, becomes a philosopher. For seniors, gardening is one of the most healing hobbies in existence. Research from the University of Exeter has shown that regular gardening can reduce the risk of dementia by up to 36%. It gives you gentle exercise. It exposes you to sunlight, which the body needs to produce vitamin D. It puts your hands in soil that contains bacteria, proven to boost serotonin, the body's natural mood lifter. But beyond all of this, gardening gives you something the modern world has almost lost. A reason to look forward to tomorrow. Because tomorrow, the tomatoes may be redder. Tomorrow, the rose may open. Tomorrow, the seeds you planted last week may finally break through the soil. Even if you live in an apartment, you can garden. A pot on a windowsill, a few herbs in the kitchen, a single tomato plant on a balcony. It does not matter how small your garden is. What matters is that you tend to something living, every day, with your own hands. Marcus Aurelius wrote that everything that happens is as usual and familiar as the rose in spring and the fruit in summer. The gardener understands this, and in understanding it, they make peace with time itself. The fourth hobby may be the most Stoic of them all: journaling. Here is something you may not know. The book we call Meditations, one of the greatest works of philosophy ever written, was never meant to be published. Marcus Aurelius wrote it for himself. Every night, after the burdens of empire, he sat down and wrote to himself. He examined his day. He reminded himself of what mattered. He corrected his own thinking. He caught himself when pride, anger, or fear had crept in. He journaled, and in doing so, he became one of the wisest men who ever lived. Seneca did the same. He wrote that he examined his entire day and went back over what he had done and said, hiding nothing from himself, passing nothing by. This is the Stoic practice of nightly review, and it is available to you, tonight, with nothing more than a notebook and a pen. For anyone over 60, journaling is a gift that gives back on every level. Research has shown that regular journaling improves memory, reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and even strengthens the immune system. It slows cognitive decline. It helps process grief, anxiety, and the losses that inevitably come with a long life. But it does something even more important. It gives you a witness, yourself. Try this simple Stoic journal practice. Each evening, before bed, sit down with a notebook and ask 3 questions. First, what did I do well today? Not to boast, but to notice. To honor the small victories, the patience you showed, the kind word you offered, the temptation you resisted. Second, what did I do poorly? Not to punish yourself, but to learn. Where did anger get the better of me? Where did I speak when I should have listened? Where did I let fear make my choices? Third, what can I do better tomorrow? Not a resolution, but a direction. A small, gentle turning of the ship. Do this for 30 days, and something changes. You begin to see patterns. You begin to catch yourself in old habits. You begin to grow, not by trying harder, but by seeing more clearly. And someday, years from now, when you open an old journal and read the words your younger self wrote, you will see the truth of a Stoic principle Marcus Aurelius knew well. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your journal becomes the record of your becoming. The fifth hobby is meditation, but I want you to forget everything you may have heard about it. You do not need a cushion. You do not need incense. You do not need a mountain in Tibet. What you need is what the Stoics practiced 2,000 years before meditation became fashionable. The daily practice of sitting quietly with your own mind. Marcus Aurelius began nearly every morning with what we would now call a meditation. He wrote that when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. That is meditation. Nothing more, nothing less. For the person over 60, meditation has been proven to do things that once would have been considered miraculous. Research from Harvard Medical School has shown that 8 weeks of daily meditation actually changes the physical structure of the brain, thickening areas associated with memory, learning, and emotional regulation, and shrinking the areas associated with anxiety and fear. Meditation lowers blood pressure. It improves sleep. It reduces chronic pain. It sharpens focus. It has been shown to slow the aging of the brain itself. But the Stoic sees meditation as something even greater than health. Epictetus taught that most of human suffering comes not from events, but from our judgments about events. Meditation is the practice of stepping back from those judgments, of watching your thoughts without becoming them, of noticing your fears without obeying them. Here is a simple Stoic meditation you can start today. Sit somewhere quiet. Close your eyes. Take one slow breath in through your nose. Feel it fill your lungs. Now let it out, slowly, through your mouth. Do this 10 times. Just 10 breaths. That is all. As thoughts arise, and they will, do not fight them. Do not follow them. Simply notice them, like clouds passing across the sky, and return to the breath. Do this every morning for 1 week. Then 2. Then a month. You will begin to notice something. The little irritations of the day lose some of their power. The worries about the future feel a bit lighter. The regrets of the past release their grip. Because you are learning, breath by breath, what Marcus Aurelius knew. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and the quality of your thoughts is something you can, at last, begin to shape. The sixth hobby is one that many people over 60 are afraid to try. Learning something new. Somewhere along the way, we absorbed a lie. The lie says that learning is for the young, that the brain, after a certain age, becomes fixed, that old dogs cannot learn new tricks. Modern neuroscience has demolished this lie completely. Research has shown that the brain retains what scientists call neuroplasticity well into old age. The brain of a 70-year-old learning a new language, a new instrument, or a new craft actually grows new neural pathways, just as it did in youth. The gap closes with practice. The mind stays young by being challenged. But long before science proved this, the Stoics lived it. Cato the Younger, one of Rome's most respected Stoic senators, began learning Greek philosophy in his old age. Seneca wrote that as long as you live, keep learning how to live. Not until you retire, not until you are ready, as long as you live. For the retiree, choosing a new skill is a profound act. It is a declaration. You are saying to the universe, I am not finished. I am still becoming. My story is not yet written. Choose something that has always interested you. Perhaps you have wanted to paint. Perhaps you have dreamed of playing the piano. Perhaps a foreign language has always drawn you. Perhaps woodworking. Perhaps chess. Perhaps writing your memoirs. Perhaps learning to bake bread from scratch. It does not matter what you choose. What matters is that you choose. And here is the Stoic secret. Do not choose it because you must become great at it. Do not choose it because you want to impress others. Choose it for the joy of learning itself. Because learning is a form of aliveness, and aliveness is available at every age. You will be bad at it, at first. Everyone is. Even Marcus Aurelius was a beginner once. Even Seneca had to learn to write. Embrace the awkwardness. Laugh at yourself. Show up anyway. A little each day, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. That is all it takes. And one day, a year from now, you will look at what your hands can do, or what your mind now knows, and you will realize you are a different person than the one who began. Not older, more. That is the gift of learning after 60. It does not extend your life. It expands it. And now we come to the seventh hobby, the one most people overlook, the one that changes everything. Service. Volunteering. Giving yourself to something larger than yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what we do now echoes in eternity. But he also wrote something even more direct. We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. The Stoics believed something radical. They believed that human beings are not designed to live for themselves, that the meaning of life is not found in accumulating, but in contributing, that our purpose is bound up with the purpose of others. Modern research confirms this, in ways the Stoics could never have imagined. Studies have shown that seniors who volunteer regularly live longer, have lower rates of depression, better cognitive function, stronger immune systems, and even a reduced risk of heart disease. Volunteering after 60 is one of the most powerful predictors of a long, meaningful life. But statistics only tell half the story. Ask any older person who has spent their retirement in service, and they will tell you something the numbers cannot. They will tell you that giving is what gave them back their joy. There is a loneliness that comes with retirement that no one warns you about. The colleagues are gone. The purpose that once organized your days has vanished. The identity you built over decades slowly loses its shape. Service is the cure. You do not need to save the world. You need only to serve one corner of it. Read to children at your local library. Teach a young person the trade you spent 40 years mastering. Cook a meal for a neighbor who lives alone. Volunteer at a hospital, a shelter, a school, a church. Mentor someone starting a business. Deliver meals to those who cannot leave their homes. Rock babies in a hospital nursery. Walk dogs at an animal shelter. Choose something, anything, and show up. Because here is what Seneca knew, and what you will discover for yourself. When you give your time to others, you receive something the world cannot buy. You receive purpose, and purpose is the medicine of the soul. Epictetus said that a wise man does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. When you serve, you begin to see what you have. You begin to see your own richness, the wisdom of your years, the skills of your hands, the compassion of your heart. These are gifts, and gifts are meant to be given. The retiree who serves does not merely stay young, they become timeless. 7 hobbies, 7 doors into a life that grows richer, not poorer, with the passing of years. Reading, to feed the mind. Walking, to awaken the body. Gardening, to make peace with time. Journaling, to know yourself. Meditation, to master your thoughts. Learning, to keep becoming. And service, to find your purpose. You do not need to do all 7 at once. Choose one. Start today. Start small, because here is the truth the Stoics understood, and the truth this world has forgotten. The years after 60 are not a decline, they are a harvest. Everything you have planted, every hardship, every triumph, every relationship, every quiet moment of learning, is now ready to bear fruit. Marcus Aurelius, near the end of his life, wrote these words: "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. The doom hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." He was not writing of despair. He was writing of urgency, of the sacredness of the years you still have, however many they may be. You have this day. You have this hour. You have this breath. And within them lies more than enough time to build a life of meaning, of dignity, of wisdom. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Do not waste yours." The philosophy of the Stoics was never meant for scholars in dusty rooms. It was meant for you, for the retiree wondering what comes next, for the widow finding her way alone, for for the grandfather looking at his grandchildren and wondering what to leave them, for the woman who thought her best years were behind her and is beginning to suspect they may be just ahead. The best chapter of your life may not have been written yet. Pick up the pen. If this video spoke to you, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every week. Remember, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Thank you for watching, and may your years ahead be filled with wisdom, peace, and quiet strength.